Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Raya, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body a living sacrifice. And the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, right? Sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts for our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, but building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they can do to magnify the Most High in the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, right? Abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting in the last days. But I want to share my screen. All right, Salaki, bear with me. And give me a strong con if brothers can see the screen. Right, give me a strong con if brothers can see the screen. Right, we're going to dive straight into it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right, it's a lot going on in the earth, man. It's extremely, extremely exciting, the things that are kicking off in the last days. You got all hell breaking loose throughout the four corners of the earth. And the brothers aren't watching. You aren't staying, 10 toes down in this faith as a watchman. You will get rooted out, man. The Lord is going to come like a thief in the night. Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, right? And I'm going to start at verse, right, number, this whole thing is far, 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? And that's what the righteous does. The righteous asks questions. The righteous want to know what's going on, man. What's going to be the parting asunder? The things that's going on, man. It says, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Right? This goes back to Genesis, the 25th chapter. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. For all brothers that want to understand, the end days, prophecy, you want to understand diplomatic relations, foreign policies, economic changes, World War III news, you want to dive into what's going on in the earth, really open your eyes, read the scriptures, and see how they're linking hand in hand with what's going on right now on the earth, man. Everything you read about is alive and it's breathing, man. If this is not more of a reason to praise the Most High, more of a reason to understand this truth, you got brothers falling asleep in the last days, getting rocked to sleep. Why this is the most exciting part of the Lord's movie, man. This thing is coming to pass right before your eyes. Things Isaiah spoke about, Daniel spoke about, Ezekiel spoke about, right? The prophets of old have spoken about, in Psalms, right? In Revelation through the Apostle John. These things are coming to pass right before your eyes. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. For all you brothers and sisters that are lackadaisical, you're rocking to sleep, you're battling these demons, you're getting overtaken by these demons by stress, anxiety, right? Temptation, adversity, and everything that's sifting you out, man, shake that off in the last days, man. Don't let anything take your crown or stop you from inheriting everlasting life, man. We're living in the end, right? And I want to pull up, it's a whole lot I want to dive into, through the spirit, but I wanted to get this real fast through the spirit, so like you bear with me. See if I could grab this up real fast. And we diving into it. Right, Lord willing, brothers could see the screen. Most High willing, brothers could be able to hear the audio.
We begin with this video to our monitors out of the Middle East. Israel and Iran continue to exchange strikes for the 6th day in a row. According to Iranian state media, what you see here is smoke. It's coming out of one of Iran's missile production facilities. Meanwhile, President Trump is now considering joining forces with Israel to put an end to Iran's nuclear program.
So for brothers that don't know what's going on, right, you're late to the event. You don't really know, you're showing up late, right? You stumbled in the door right in the 11th, going into the 12th hour, right? You just woke up out of a nap or out of sleep. What's going on in the earth is Iran and the U.S. gearing up for war as the United States backs so-called, right, Israel, right? And as Iran is linked up with Russia and China and North Korea.
That decision likely hashed out during a Situation Room meeting yesterday. Now, these are the familiar faces CBS News.
So you had a Situation Room where all the elites of the government and the branches, they come together and they counsel, right? The Lord is not with your counsels, man. He's not with your wicked counsels and your wickedness, man. The Lord is against those things. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 8 and verse number 1. So anything they do counsel, it will come to naught because it's not of the Most High God. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 11. We start at 10. Take counsel together and it shall come to naught. Meaning the Lord is taking these things down. Everything they counsel together is going to all be brought down to naught. Speak the word and it shall not stand, for God is with us, man. The Most High is with Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And anything these devils do conjure up in these situation rooms, these councils, these UN meetings, and these situations where they come together will come to naught.
Can confirm attended that round table. One of the nuclear facilities being targeted is this one, the name Fordow. That site is buried almost 300.
Now, as ancient kings, you always want to go for the tower. You can read about that, right, when you read Maccabees. Right, First Maccabees 13, various other chapters, various other precepts. You always go for the strong tower and the safe haven. See, the tower in the ancient worlds where they will hold the food, the victuals, right, the weapons, the armory. That was the strength that the watchman would have that they would flee to for succor. You understand? And all hell would break loose. They would try to take down the strongest fort in the tower. Your modern day tower where the weaponry are is these banks, right, and these military forces where they will hold all your weaponry, all your nuclear warheads, your drones, right, all of your ICBM missiles, all of your tanks, all of your armory. But the civilians don't matter. They don't pose a threat. So when Israel is striking Iran, they're going specifically to these targets. And that's what war does, man. That's why the Lord spoke about war.
100 feet beneath a mountain and protected by significant air defenses.
Now, I'm gonna let that play again. These forces in these places are underneath mountains. That's not by chance these things are underneath mountains. Why are they underneath mountains? Well, first and foremost, to fulfill prophecy, you're going to have a lot of underground bunkers and a lot of men and elites that are going to be hiding in these diverse places. Not hiding as if they're just sipping wine, right? Kick back as World War III happens. But that's where the strength of their armory resides in. So when they hit and nukes and drones and these things hit, you understand? Yeah, they may take down buildings, hospitals, right? Museums, right? Banks, but they're not going to totally destroy the force of what keeps them so-called safe for the moment.
Sources tell us it's believed to be key. That site is buried almost 300 feet beneath a mountain.
300 feet beneath the mountain.
And protected by significant air defenses. Sources tell us it's believed to be key to Iran's nuclear program. Well, minutes ago at the White House, President Trump was asked if he would strike nuclear sites like this one. Listen to what he had to say.
You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not.
See, he's being passive. Says President Trump on getting involved in Iran. Now, if you don't know in news, Trump said that he has 2 weeks to make a decision. 2 weeks to say whether he's going to strike Iran or whether he's going to stay out of it. Because you have 40,000 soldiers that are already shipped over there. You have warplanes that are on the coast of Israel right now, backing them on foot. You understand? But it's a different level when you get nuclear power involved other than physical soldiers and manpower. So they may send it off and act like they got Israel's back. What 400? So like 40,000 soldiers. They may send off a war tank. They may send off a couple of warheads to help them out. They may send them some money. They may send a ship or whatever the case may be. But it's different when you're fighting, you understand, with nuclear power, ICBM missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, which shoot long range. See, when you go to war and you're in the enemy's, right, the opposition's territory, it's easy for them planes to let down those small warheads that attack maybe streets, cars, and buildings. But it's different when you have the power to shoot, right, to go over 20 cities. That's the type of strength and power where you don't even need to get your people involved to even be down there.
Not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before all this death and destruction? Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine.
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did they say?
I said, it's very late. You know? I said, it's very late to be talking.
See, you got to watch this devil because everything he says is a lie. They're not reaching out, bowing down to Trump. That's a complete lie. The things he's saying is to calm down the media and the people so there's not an uprise and a sedition. But you have to have ears to see. It's like your ears to hear and eyes to see that, man. Right? Obviously, right, their presidents and these men, they aren't backing down. Right? I want to get this real fast. It says updates. Trump decides to whether U.S. to attack Iran within 2 weeks. Right? He has vowed within 2 weeks that he's going to make a decision, whether he's going to really get involved or not. And we know what involved means: nuclear holocaust and destruction. That's what this is talking about, man. He's already shipped soldiers down there. So he's saying whether he's going to get involved or not. And he has 2 weeks to make a decision. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13. This is Isaiah chapter 13. And I want to start at verse number 17. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Now the Medes, you understand, the Persians are your ancient Iranians, man. Iran. People in the Middle East. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes, right, the Persians, against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. What does that mean on a deeper level, man? Meaning negotiations. They're not going to yield to it. So the things that Trump just said, going into situation rooms, right, peace treaties, they're diving together to make some type of answer to their problems. They're trying to join forces. These things are not going to come to naught because the ancient Medes, the Persians, they don't give a damn about silver. They don't care about gold. They don't care about what you can give them and the things that can help them, right? Because they're so sustained off their military, their people. They're even against their own people and the Arab nations, man. I wanted to touch on that too. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall not, right, have pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms and the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah with utter destruction, utter chaos, utter violence, man. And these things are coming to Babylon the Great, right? Check this out. Now you have how the U.S. has shipped military jets and ships to the Middle East, man. Stop playing around, man. Stop sending jets and ships. That's low-level military aircraft and low-level ships that they're sending forth, man. Again, when you go to attack and they ship their soldiers into these bases and these places, that's not nuclear warfare. Nuclear warfare can happen with us staying right in this country and them staying right in that country. That's what we waiting on, man. Waiting for that button to be pushed. Right? It says this. Washington, zoom in. Washington AP, the U.S. is shifting military aircraft and warships into surrounding the Middle East to protect Israel from Iranian attacks. As President Trump, right, Donald Trump warns Tehran to step back from the conflict. Trump's social media posts saying his patience with Iran is wearing thin. So he said, look, I'm tired of them, man. My patience is running thin. And he has went on record, right? The Iranian president, right? He has went on record saying what, man? That he's not bowing down to Trump. He's not stopping. The things he's gearing up, he's not kneeling before anybody. He went on record saying that I'm not kneeling before anybody. It says, having raised the possibility of depending, right, deepening U.S. involvement, perhaps using the bunker busting bomb. So America already knows about bunkers. If you don't know about bunkers, they're prophesied all throughout the scriptures. Revelation, the 6th chapter, right? It goes into Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, right? Isaiah, the 24th chapter. There are many prophecies about the underground bunkers. Now, chiefly, these bunkers are where the military is their safe haven and their protection. See, the elect, their safe haven is under the refuge in the wings of the Almighty, man, which is these scriptures and the faith of Yahweh Shah. Where everybody else, their bunkers, their incitement, and their protection comes from underground bunkers and shelters where they're holding missiles, drones, and all type of military warfare to strike a key Iranian nuclear site built deep underground in the mountains. And we just went into that, man. Well, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Jeremiah. The Lord is judging this place, man. And not just on a small level. See, Iran just had an earthquake yesterday. These things are kicking up. The Lord's hand is against the children of men. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, and verse number 15. But thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand and cause all nations to whom I send thee to drink it. And the Lord is sending out, you understand, his destruction in his wine cup full of vengeance and fury upon all nations, right, to drink it. And they shall ring, so like they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I shall send among them. And took I the cup at the Lord's hand and made all nations to drink unto whom the Lord has sent me. That's why there's so much tension in the Middle East, so much vengeance, right? So much destruction, because the Lord has prophesied that that's going to be the place of the beginning of World War III. Jumping down to verse number 24. And all the kings of Arabia and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert. So Arabia, right, in the Hebrew just goes into desert dweller, right? You have the Pacific Arabians, but you also have that whole region, right? Yemen, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, right? You got all of those Arab countries and all those Arab nations, Iraq, they're all joined together. They're the desert dwellers. It says, in all the kings of Zimri and all the kings of Elam and all the kings of the Medes. So the Medes have destruction from the hand of the Heavenly Father, man. These things are being sent out on a high level. Now the Lord's going to use these nations to judge one another, just like he did in the ancient world. When you read the book of Jeremiah, right? When you read the book of Isaiah, Isaiah chapter 13, all the way out, right? You have many prophecies against the children of men. And also in Jeremiah, the latter versions of Jeremiah, right? You had Nebuchadnezzar that was sent to destroy and overthrow, right, by the hand of the Heavenly Father, Egypt and diverse countries. And the Lord judged those places and those prophecies against them by the prophets by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. The same way you're going to have other countries by the hand of the Lord is going to use to smite one another to fulfill prophecy in his will. Israel, right, doesn't have massive union. It would destroy, right, 4 nuclear fuel enrichment plants, right, or aircraft needed to deliver it. Only the U.S. does, right? Let me get this real fast, right? Pentagon sends warplanes, aircraft carriers to Middle East as Iran-Israel conflict rages. So what are they doing? They're just sending more fuel. They're sending more men on foot, right, to get this war brewing and this thing going through the spirit, man. And these things are coming to pass. It says, let me get this real fast. Washington, the Pentagon has shifted warplanes and aircraft carriers to the Middle East as conflict between Israel and Iran continues to rage. But the moves have been defense in nature as the U.S. observes rather than participates in Israel's punishing air campaign. according to U.S. officials. The moves by the U.S. military have been made with an eye toward protecting American troops. So that's not even sincere what they're doing, man. They're only putting these warplanes to protect their nation within that nation. Right? So your articles and everything, you know, within the things that they have Confederates and allies against, they're even breaking it. Right? On paper, Trump is supposed to be having World War III right now. But why is he withdrawn from it? We want to get into that too. See, war isn't as easy as just pressing a button and getting things started immediately, man. There's a lot of things that keep in mind, right, as you go to war. Chiefly, a couple of things that keep in mind is how many men, how many soldiers are going to war. Now, U.S. beats on paper Iran, but it doesn't stop there, because the average fool or man, or, you know, man that's looking at the situation, well, America could overtake Iran. Let's just drop the bombs right there, right? Even though America's good on paper, Iran's linked up with Russia. Iran is linked up with Turkey. Iran is linked up with North Korea. Iran is linked up with China. Iran is linked up, you know, with all of these nations, right? That if they go to war, all of them going to go to war. There's not too much military power that's back in the United States, right, as they want to go to war, right? It says there are about 40,000 U.S. service members there. So they have their men, right? And I want to look at this, to destroy that place and or to protect it. And Iran is in ruin, man. And on the war, you know, on paper, no, Israel, so-called Israel, the state, is beating Iran in a war as of now. That's another reason why Trump is hesitant in getting involved. Another reason he knows that Russia will get involved. And they know that they will lose to Russia. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 21. This is Isaiah chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse number 2. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously. And the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam. Besiege, O Media. Right? When you see Media, or you see Persian, right? You see these different terms. It's talking about the Iranians, man. Iran. O Media, all the sign thereof have I made to cease. Right? Therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pains have taken hold upon me, and the pains of a woman that travaileth. I was bestowed down at the hearing of it. I was dismayed at the seeing of it. Right? Let me get this real fast. Share my screen. Through the spirit. Yahweh Shia-Sunni. Come, most high willing, man. Brothers can see the screen. We diving into it. Right? It says, therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pains have taken hold upon me, and the pains of a woman that travaileth. Where I was bowed down at the hearing of it. I was dismayed at the seeing of it. Jumping down to verse right number 7. I'm going to start at 6. But thus hath the Lord said unto me, go set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth. Right? What is this war? It's talking about, right? Literally, Persians and the Medes taking down Babylon. This is the same spirit that's back on the earth. The Lord is raising up the spirit of the ancient Persians, man. That wild, demonic nation of old, that cut off tongues, that still behead people, that still have their old ancient natural rituals of animal sacrifice and slaughter, that still speak to their gods of wood and stone. This ancient nation that's rising up. See, a lot of the nations, they're drunk, right? Like the so-called Chinese, they're drunk. They're trying to be like the so-called white man. It's a lot of nations, the Japhites, they're drunk. A lot of nations are drunk after following the ways and the customs of the so-called white man. But you have this nation, Iran, Ishmael, that are sticking true to their heritage and roots of a wild man from the very foundation of the earth. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen and chariot of asses and chariot of camels. And he hearkened diligently with much heed. And he cried, a lion, my Lord. I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am set in my ward whole nights. So you have to watch this thing, man. Continue to keep clicking. Because News says that it's 2 weeks before Trump's make a decision. He's not making a decision in war because he's already entered into war. There's already 40,000 soldiers, warplanes, and warships on the Middle East off the coast. So what is that 2 decision week talking about? Talking about global war. So you're on the brink of your seats of World War III becoming global and now attacking, right, all nations. And behold, here cometh a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, it is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods have he broken unto the ground. And that's what's on the way. The Lord destroying this place. Now, Trump feels like he's going to be able to win this war through pride, through arrogancy, through his technology, through his wickedness, his witchcraft, right? But all of that's coming down to naught. I don't want to pull this up, and most are willing, man, brothers can see the screen. But this is Donald Trump's Twitter. He says unconditional surrender, right? So he's not surrendering. It says we know exactly what a so-called supreme leader is hiding. So they know exactly where the Iranian president is, and they have located his bunker, right? And they have located his hiding place where his nuclear base is. He is an easy target, but it's safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. See, that's his main point. See, he's acting like he wants to back Israel, but isn't pushing a button because he doesn't want anything to happen to the American people that's in that land. But what was all of that fun, that joy, that love when the so-called Israel was getting bombed, when their babies were getting dashed to pieces, when they were getting thrown up against the wall, shot execution style? See, these allies are so fake, man. Because if that was my brother getting robbed, raped, or murdered, man, I would have his back, most high willing, man. It wouldn't take me to have my physical son to be jumped with them for me to get involved. It says, our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter, right? Check this out. We now have completed a total of the skies over Iran. Iran has good sky trackers. So when you go into war, and I'm going to come back to this, there are many things that keep in mind going to war. One of the most important things, again, is numbers. That plays a key factor in war. Another thing is defense mechanisms. So any boxer, he has to know how to duck. He has to know how to bob and weave. He has to know how to backpedal and how to forward pedal. Anybody playing sports has to know how to block, have to steal, how to guard, right? Everything has an action and a reaction. You can't just shoot 1,000 missiles just because you have the military ICB in power and think that you're going to win a war. You also have Army air defense mechanisms and systems, like the Iron Dome, like the David Sling, right? Like the Patreon missile system, right? The Fing 92 Stinger, and these different things, they shoot down missiles. So if Iran were to shoot, you understand what is America's counter going to do? They're going to try to block that with air defense mechanisms and systems. And it all goes down to analyzing how strong their air defense systems are. Because you can have 1,000 missiles, but the opposing army, right, has air defense mechanisms that can shoot down all of them. And it really boils down to how specific are they in the air. This is the United States, right? Army air defense relies on a range of ground launch missiles ranging from handheld to vehicle mounted systems, right? So in war, they'll shoot them down, they'll be on the ground, and or they'll shoot them up and they'll have air trackers. The air defense artillery is a branch that specializes in anti-aircraft weapons such as surface-to-air missiles. In the U.S. Army, right, these groups are composed of mainly air defense systems such as Patriot Missile System, right, SAM, Terminal High Altitude Air Defense, and Avenger Air Defense Systems, man. So that's literally the names of these counters as war and missiles are shot and drones upon the earth. Check this out. Now, Iran and Israel war, how defense systems work, because a brother may not know how these things work. Let's watch. Right, let me share that so you brothers could get the audio. All right, let me get this real fast through the spirit. Salaki, bear with me. Salaki, bear with me. Through the spirit. Grab this up real quick. Let me see. Try and link up the right one through the spirit. All right, bear with me. May not be able to get the audio, but you know, most are willing. Let me see. Try to get this real fast. Okay, Khan, we might not get the audio, but okay, all praise to the Most High. Lord willing, that just worked. All right, we're going to dive right back into it.
The aerial attacks. Let's take a look at the multi-layered air defense systems and their ever-increasing critical role in modern warfare.
Right, let's take a look at these air defense systems and how they take part, right, in war, man. Let's find out. The Iron Dome. See, this is Israel's missile shield. Again, going to war isn't as fast as just 1, 2, 3. That's just fight. See, Jake and your nigga moment, right? You just want to fight no matter what. He stepped on your shoe. He bumped you. You don't care. You're not analyzing who he's with. If he's strapped, if he got a knife, you just jumping in, ready for war, man. Ready to fight. But these nations, they playing chess. They're not playing checkers, man.
A mobile all-weather air defense system. This is Iron Dome, a signature component of Israel's defense armory. It is designed to intercept and destroy short-range rockets and artillery shells fired from distances of up to 70 kilometers.
Up to 70 kilometers. So they have, you know, only so much that they could do. That's why them ICBM missiles, they can't really do too much with them, huh?
In recent years, the Iron Dome has been up against extended high-intensity bombardments on several fronts. It has come under attack from Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and the Houthis in Yemen. From 2011 to 2021, the United States opened its purse strings, contributing a total of $1.6 billion.
1.6 billion in defense. It's not just about missiles. So much they're contributing to Israel.
To the Iron Dome defense system, which was first deployed on the 27th of March 2011 near Beersheba in southern Israel.
And that's why these nations smelling themselves, man. They feel like they got all of this money. They got all this defense, right? Because America has defense shelter. America has defense weapons. You understand, in defense systems. And America has ICBM missiles. So you can see the pride and the puffness of their heart. Right, let me get this quick precept in the book of Isaiah chapter 10. It's Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 15. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? And then the axe can't boast itself. An axe can't kill a man unless a man swings the axe. Meaning these nations aren't anything unless the Most High gives a decree for them to push the button, for them to send money, for them to amp up and send soldiers. It's all by the hand of the living God. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? Meaning, no, a saw isn't anything. So last time I checked, a saw would stay still in a corner unless it's picked up, man. Meaning the Lord picks up these nations. Then the Lord manipulates the elements and moves them according to his will and his power. It says, as if the rod shall shake itself against them that lift it up, or if the staff should lift up itself, right, as it were no wood. Meaning the Lord isn't dealing with the pride of man. Let me go back to that.
The next layer above the Iron Dome is David's Sling.
And the David Sling, another name for the David Sling is the magic wand, right? Now the magic wand, brothers know about sorcery, man. And what does a wand do? To cast spells, to stop things, right? Enterprises from coming to pass.
Also known as Magic Wand. It is designed to intercept enemy aircraft drones, tactical ballistic missiles, medium to short-range rockets, and cruise missiles fired from up to 300 kilometers away.
300 kilometers away. So again, this boils down, right, on a simple level to math, right? How many kilometers does this shoot? How many air defense systems do they have? Who are their allies? All of this on paper needs to be studied by these kings and these elites, man. Our brothers are watching, thinking that this thing is dying down. It's not coming to pass. Maybe the Lord isn't real. I don't know what's going on. You know, maybe this thing isn't coming to pass. You have to understand the mind of war.
With each David Sling costing about $1 million,
$1 million.
the defense system, which derives its name from the biblical account of David and Goliath, acts as a middle-tier layer in defense between the Iron Dome and arrow systems.
Now we're getting to Israeli Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 systems, right? Again, this shows Israeli defense systems, and this is going to show Iran's defense systems.
Both Arrow 2 and 3 are components of Israel's multi-layered missile defense system, operating at different altitudes and possessing different ranges. Arrow 2, which has a range of 100 kilometers, primarily intercepts and destroys short and medium-range ballistic missiles in the upper atmosphere, about 50 kilometers from the Earth. Whereas Arrow 3 has a range of 2,400 kilometers.
Iran's defense systems, right? Matter of fact, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Jeremiah, right? Chapter 46, right? Isaiah, right? So like in Jeremiah chapter 46, and I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. Number 20, right? It says, Egypt is like a very fair heifer, but destruction cometh. It cometh out of the north, right? And when you look at the north in the right context, it could either be talking about Nebuchadnezzar, right? Or also it could be talking about the northern hemisphere, because you have the west that we're on, you have the east, right, that Israel is, you have the southern hemisphere, and you have the northern hemisphere. It says also, her hired men are in the midst of her. So what does this mean? Meaning when you go to war, you always hire soldiers. You hire men to go to war with you, man. I've never seen any nation that just goes to war on their own accord, man. You can read about that all throughout in the scriptures. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom join forces, right? You have in Isaiah the 7th chapter. Let me get this quick precept in Isaiah the 7th chapter of confederacies being formed to go to war. That's an ancient mindset. That's why Pharaoh didn't want us uprising. Why? Because he knew that the more we multiplied, if there arose a war in the land, we would join into their enemies. That's why they set taskmasters over us, man, and afflicted us very sore. So that's an ancient mind of a king, man. Seditions and uprisings and allies. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 7, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 1. And it came to pass in the days of Hazard, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that risen, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Relamah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but cannot prevail against it. So that's that ancient mind to join forces. So why it says in Jeremiah 46 and 21, also her hired men are in the midst of her, like fatted bullocks, man. What is a bullock? A bullock's used for strength, used for pulling, used for breaking down ground. Right? It says, for they also are turned back and fled away together. So as you join forces, a lot of these nations that join forces and their allies are going to flee together. They're going to part asunder. They're going to go this way and the other one is going to go that way. They did not stand because the day of their calamity was upon them and the time of their visitation. We'll read that again. For they also are turned back. So again, you may see Confederates to these nations now, but when things start to heat up, do you think they're really going to have each other's back, man? Or is everybody going to turn to his own people, like it says in the book, right, of Isaiah, the 13th chapter? And are fled away together, they did not stand because the day of their calamity was upon them and the time of their visitation. The voice thereof shall go like a serpent, for they shall march with an army and come against her with axes and hewers of wood, man. Let's go back to that.
Let's take a look at how Iran fares compared to Israel in terms of air defense capability.
See, it says, let's see how Iran fares to Israel with air defense systems.
Iran has in its arsenal several long, medium, and short-range air defense missile systems. But top on its list is its indigenously developed Arman mobile long-range anti-ballistic missile system. With an ability to cover 360 degrees,
see, it says long-range anti-ballistic missile system.
Arman can engage simultaneously with 6 different targets at 120 to 180 kilometers. Iran also has the latest S-300 version, the S-300 PMU-2, a Russian.
The latest version. And Iran doesn't have an ICBM missile as of yet. And, you know, that's been in a talk since 2003 that they didn't have it, but they're gearing up. And sources say that they're about 60% of forming the right, you know, avenues and sources to obtain these things. Now, an ICBM missile isn't just a bought. You don't just buy your ICBM missile. I want to go into the history and the product of how an ICBM missile is formed, made, and given right to these different countries, because all that's important to know, right?
Russian-made long-range surface-to-air missile system. Designed to counter a variety of threats, S-300 can intercept aircraft, cruise missiles, and short to medium-range ballistic missiles.
I'm not gonna watch this whole thing, but I mean, Russia has defense missile systems, right? I want to get this real fast, right? And I want to share my screen to pull up what these devils, right? What these devils got going on, man, right? Right, what these devils got brewing up, man. Now, this is BRICS news, and it's a lot going on, right? But check this out. Just then, Iran says we do not know how we can trust the Americans anymore, right? It says just then, U.S. President Trump says it's hard to tell Israel to stop bombing Iran when they are winning. So, I mean, according to the sources and what's going on right now, they have the upper hand as of the moment. Just then, President Trump says maybe it won't be necessary for the United States to strike Iran. Right? Again, all of these statements are to calm down the people, to make the people feel at ease. This is all predictive programming. None of these things are real. No statements that any puppet master makes in front of the whole nation will put them in panic and overthrow them. Why? Because you'll have a lot of people robbing, looting, destroying. You'll have seditions. You'll have uprisers. You have scarce men and women running to and fro for food, running for weaponries, robbing gun shops, robbing these different diverse places, man. These fishing stores, taking all of the knives and taking all of the different things, the bats and the things gearing up to protect themselves. They don't want to have the people in an uproar. Just then, United States deploys 5 warships off the coast of Israel, right? So, I mean, when you get into this, you kind of see what's going on. Iran says it's open to continuing nuclear talk with the US. All right, let me get this real fast. Right now, this is Iran military updates. Iron Dome to Iranian missiles. Go ahead. I'm too tired for this. So the thing we were just looking at, you have an Iron Dome and you have missiles being shot. And they're not doing too good. The Iron Dome isn't doing too good, man. This night was very hard for Tel Aviv. I mean, they're literally on fire and all hell was breaking loose, man. Let me get this real fast. Now check this out. 19 hours ago, just then, Israeli media says U.S. President Trump is very close to ordering an attack on Iran. Very close. Again, this devil has said he's going to do these things within a 2-week span. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 21. What does that mean for modern day terms? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 21 and verse number 7. And it shall be when they say unto thee, wherefore sighest thou? Thou shalt answer, for the tidings, because it cometh. Right? Everybody's sighing. Everybody's getting ready. Everybody knows that it's inevitable that World War III is on the rise, man. You have people gearing up, man. It says, and every heart shall melt, and all the hands shall be feeble, and every spirit shall faint, and all knees shall be weakened as water. Behold, it cometh. It cometh because it's always prophesied. The Lord always says by the hand of Peter, destruction is going to happen. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, even Noah prophesied these things. Enoch, the Lord will come with 10,000. The Lord is going to destroy this place, man. All the prophets from generation to generations have been speaking the same things, and we know it cometh. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesied and say, thus saith the Lord, say a sword is sharpened and also furbished. So these talks, these things gearing up is a sword being sharpened. It's sharpened and getting ready to slaughter. See, and a lot of times too, that war isn't kicked off because certain nations have to obtain the military might to be able to destroy another nation. Just because one nation is ready with an ICBM missile and another nation is ready with an ICBM missile doesn't mean that they all have reached the peak of wickedness. You may have you may have 7,000 silt right now. You understand? You may have 100,000 silt right now out of 144,000. Right? We don't know how many men are silt, but that's not going to have destruction happen. Lord is waiting for all 144,000 men to be silt. Same way on prophecy, you got to look at it on that level. Things have to be silt and come to pass. It says, for it is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Is it now the time to be forgetting while you're on this earth, man? Giving over to your spirits, giving over to your demons. You got people on this earth that are waxing worse. They're getting more engulfed in mirth, drunkenness, women, adultery, slander, right? Tale-bearing in Israel, breaking up of marriages, right? Despising the words of God, turning away back to the old man. Is it a time to make mirth? It cometh the rod of my son as every tree, and right, have given to be furbished that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened and it is furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer, man. The slayer. Right? These nations, right, are going to slay one another. Let me get the book of Ezekiel. Let me get this quick precept. Ezekiel chapter 32, and I want to start at verse number 7. And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heavens and make the stars thereof dark. Meaning all your military, all of your advanced weaponry, technology, your AI defense, all of your computers, these things are going to be hit. Because once these bases are hit, it's going to take them all off the grid. That's what the Lord is saying. He's going to cover heaven, right? And make the stars thereof dark. Because that's where light comes from. I will cover the sun with the cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land, saith the Lord, man. I also will vex the hearts of many people. Who are the many people? The nations, the mingled people that are in diverse places. The Lord is saying he's going to vex their hearts, make them frantic, make them scared, make them lukewarm, make them perplexed. When I shall bring thy destruction amongst the nations, into the countries which thou hast not known. And the Lord is saying, look, man, I don't know these nations. I don't know these people. I was never with them. Right? This is Israel's defense forces, right? This nuclear reactor in Iraq was created for one purpose, to build a nuclear bomb. It has now been neutralized. Here is a closer look at the reactor itself. So let's watch this real fast. Right? Strikes on an inactive nuclear reactor in the area of Iraq, Iran. Now notice when you go to the base, how it's underground. Again, the precept we just read, we can see this by what? By the stars of heaven, by his witchcraft, by his technology, by his simulations. Because he could simulate 4,000 men against another 4,000 men. They have more weapons than they do, and they'll simulate it how it will all play out. And they will watch with their AI and their technology, okay, we need more defense systems. We need more helicopters. We need more drones. And they would keep these simulations going until they're prepared, right, that they will overtake the enemy. So when the Lord takes away all of the military, right, by the hand of the stars, right, and they're not left to themselves to really simulate these things and have this view, right, what are they going to do then? Look at this. They have this thing down to a science. Right? Underground. Now, I want to shift real quick in the spirit. It says, what countries have ICBM missiles? Now, check this out. United States, Russia, China, France, India, the United Kingdom, Israel, and North Korea. So Iran doesn't have as of yet, but again, talks of these things being formed since 2002 and or 3 has been in the discussions. Are the only countries known to have operational ICBMs. Pakistan is the only nuclear armed state that does not pose, right, ICBMs. Now check this out. I want to get to this real quick. Right, I don't want to share my screen so brothers can see. So like it, bear with me. So brothers can see this. So we can dive into this thing. It's a lot I want to bring out through the spirit. Con.
Things in the Middle East remain very newsmaking. Remarks from the president today.
Co-producer is going to give you unique sounds that actually fits your track in seconds. Let me show you. First,
saying nobody knows what he's going to do. There is a sense in the region that the United States might get more involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran. For perspective on all that, I want to go to Holly Williams, who comes to us from northern Iraq.
President Trump has called for Iran's unconditional surrender. And today we had a
unconditional surrender.
Response to that in a televised address by Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. His tone was bellicose, as you might expect from the Iranian leader with his country under bombardment. He said that Iranians do not respond well to the language of threats. He was defiant. He vowed that Iran would never surrender to coercion. And perhaps most pertinently for Americans, he said that any U.S. military intervention will quote, undoubtedly result in irreparable damage to them. Now, Iran has already accused the US of being complicit in Israel's attack and has threatened to retaliate against American military bases.
So now they're going to retaliate and threatening to retaliate against America's bases. Now, the US military forces, roughly 40,000, this is where they all are. Now, if we can see this, and we're just average Joes, right? We're so-called civilians. We don't know anything. All we know is what we can dig out and find through the spirit. How much more does their technology know, man? Trump says he knows exactly what his devil is, man. Right in Iran, the minister, to destroy him, the president. but he won't do so as of now.
There are many US bases here in the Middle East, along with around 40,000 American troops. But perhaps the most obvious target for an Iranian retaliation would be the roughly 2,500 US troops here in Iraq, simply because they are right next door to Iran. If the US does get directly involved in this conflict, and if Iran then chooses to retaliate, the question is what Iran is capable of now. Israel already has air superiority over Iran after just a few days of war. And while most attention is focused on nuclear targets, just yesterday, Israel said it had hit 12 missile launch and storage sites. Back in 2020, Iran targeted a US base here in Iraq with ballistic missiles. But could they still do that? We don't know for sure. Holly Williams, CBS News, Erbil in northern Iraq.
I want to turn now to my CBS colleague, Charlie Daggett at the Pentagon. Charlie, what's the latest there?
Right. And, this devil works at the Pentagon. He's just going to say, I looked at this, earlier. I got a lot I want to cover, that he's sending warplanes, right, to Israel. We just went over that through the spirit, right? Now, I want to touch on something through the spirit. It says why Muslim majority countries have turned against Iran. If you don't know, all Arabian countries, right, are not together, right? When you go through, let me get this quick precept, right? Let me dive and get this quick precept, through the spirit. Let's go to the mighty book of Genesis. Let's go to the ancient mind and spirit of Ishmael. This is the book, right, of, get this quick precept, of Genesis chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse number 11. It says, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, thou shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord had heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man. See, wild means, unnatural. You can't talk to him. You can't reason with him, right? You can't sit down in a meeting. Even he has turned against his own people, man. Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Jordan, the whole Saudi Arabian peninsula, right? They have turned themselves against one another, right? Over religious and diplomatic reasons. When you actually going into it, right? Most are willing we could touch on that. His hand will be against every man. What does it mean, every man? It's not just talking about the so-called white man, right? It's talking about his own man. And every man against, so like every man hand against him. So even his own people are going to be against him, and every nation will be against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of his brother, right? Around that Middle Eastern area, right? Let me go back to it. Let me get that real fast. While Muslim, right, majority countries have turned against Iran. Let's dig this up real quick. Now, like I said, we're not going to read all this, but let's get to the important part. Sunni Gulf states have seen Shia Iran as an impartial threat in the region since Celtics took over Tahrir following the Iranian Revolution in 1979. So you have two groups, one that is Muslim and one that is not Muslim. The Sunni against the Shia. They accuse Iran of backing Shia uprisings against Sunni rulers in countries like Bahrain, along with pushing military in Iraq and Yemen, right, to aspire to propel Shia regimes. Now, what does this mean? Sunni Shia divide. Again, this is talking about Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, how they're divided amongst the East. It says, let me get this quick point. Tensions between Sunni and Shia exploited by regional rivals, Saudi Arabia and Iran, could reshape future in Middle East. You know what this is talking about? This is talking about 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. Literally, right? And we're going to pull that up through the spirit. So you have Saudi Arabia that at their hand against Iran. Iran's hand is against his own people, as prophesied in the Bible. It's against Israel. It's against the U.S. This man's hand is against everybody. Now, what does this mean? Muslims in the world, 6.6 billion. You have Sunni, and then you have Shia. Now, Like I said, it's a whole lot. I'm not going to read all of this, but let me pull this up real quick. It says Islam's schism submerging for 14 centuries doesn't explain all the political, economic, and geostratific figures, right, factors involved in these conflicts, but it shall become one prism, right, through which to understand the underlying tension. Two countries have compete for leadership in Islam. So this is all a war, right, of religion. Sunni Saudi Arabia, Shia Iran have used, right, the sectarian divide to further their ambitions. How their rivalry is settled will likely shape politic balance between Sunnis and Shias and the future of region, especially in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Bahrain, and Yemen. See, this is extremely important when you linking all of this up with prophecy. Brother may say, "Why? What does this have to do with anything?" But let me pull this up in Second Esdras. Let's go to Second Esdras. Let's go to Second Esdras chapter 15. Second Esdras chapter 15. And I'm going to start at verse number 28. And it reads, "Behold a horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east." So the Lord is giving Ezra the spirit to foresee the end days and where in World War III is stemming out of, how there's a horrible vision coming from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia. So you have the dragons of Arabia, right? The Arabian Peninsula. Again, Iran is not with Arabia. Arabia in Hebrew just means desert dwellers. When you're going into it, just pulled up the history, how they're divided, right? So that you can't just link and grab and force all people of Ishmael to the same spirit and to the same things, right? Salaki, I thought I was sharing my screen, this whole time. All right, Salaki, bear with me. Let me share this screen. Okay, most high willing, man, brothers can see the screen now. Going back to it, for brothers that didn't see the screen real quick, like I said, I was going into the Sunni, the Shia, and to that history of their division and their divide, right? But nevertheless, let's go back to it. This is Second Esdras, right? Chapter 15, verse 29. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. This is stemming of war out of the east. And the multitude of them shall be carried, right, as the wind upon the earth. Wind is also likened unto destruction. It's likened unto destruction. Let me get that real fast in the book of Matthew, right? Let me get this real fast, right, in the book of Matthew, right, so brothers can see, what's going on through the spirit. Let's go to the mighty book of Matthew, chapter 7. It's the mighty book of Matthew, chapter 7, right? I'm going to start at verse number 25. It says, just get straight to the point. And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. That rock is talking about Yahushua. The rain, the floods, the winds is turmoil, affliction, violence, tribulation, and all things coming against it. So, likening to this, the Lord said, and the multitude of them shall be carried as wind upon the earth. Meaning it's stemming out of these relations, right, of the Arabians, right, the dragons of Arabia, to come across the earth with destruction, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians. Now the Carmanians are your Iranians, right, your Persians. Let me see if I can pull this up. Armenians in the Bible. Pull this up real quick through the spirit. Right? Now, Carmanians, right? A fertile province, right? of ancient Persia, right? Check this out. It says part of Iran. So it's telling you it's part of Iran when you're going into the Bible gateway, when you're going into the history, when you diving into what that etymology and what this word is. Also the Carmanians. So it's making it separate from the dragons of Arabia and the Carmanians. Raging in wrath shall go forth as a wild boar. Now, what is the nature of a boar, man? A boar, it treads down places it doesn't need to be. It inherits and dives down branches and places of the woods, right? And it's a very violent creature, man. A very unclean, wicked, violent creature. And they always run in packs. They treading down gardens, right? They tread down, you know, weeds, they flowers, gardens, right? Amazons. And they disrupt nature and the flow of it, right through by their wild beast-like nature and their spirit. And the Lord is likening the Iranians, right, to that spirit. So that's how they move. Shall go forth as a wild boar of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. Right? Join battle means to go against. Right? Again, going into the history that brothers just pulled up, they are against one another. And all of this is going to play a part in the war. It's not just America and Iran. And why won't Trump push the button? And then you got all these tears, right? Why won't Trump push the button? Right? You have to understand who's involved, how this thing is going to play out, right? The divisions amongst nations, right? It says, join battle with them, and they shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Again, the Assyrians is talking about that whole region of the Middle East. They're going to waste, meaning destroy, as they join battle and go against one another. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand. Who are the dragons? The dragons of Arabia have the upper hand over the Carmanians, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. Check this out and read a little bit more. And from the land of the Syrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and their hosts shall be feared and dread and strife amongst their kings. And that's what's going on right now. Behold, clouds from the east, from the north, and from the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. See if I can pull this up. Right? They accuse Iran of backing Shia, uprisings and Sunni rulers and countries, right? Who are the enemies of Iran, right? The biggest rivalry in Arab-Iranian conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran, who have been waging heavy proxy wars, right? Each, right, other since the late 1970s. So this thing has been brewing for a while, man. That war in the Middle East and that hatred and that division. So all the Middle East isn't with one another, which is going to play a part in how they move with war, right? Let me go back to it. It says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars. And that's what these drones and these missiles look like in the air. They look like stars that are falling down to the earth. Even their own star, and blood shall be, right, from the sword unto the belly, man. But let me dive into this real quick. Pull this up real quick, through the spirit. All right. So like it, bear with me. pull this up through the spirit. Brothers can see this. Salaki, bear with me. All right. So we can get into this thing. If I could pull it up. Might not be able to pull it up right now. Most I'm willing, we could come back to that. All right, we might have to come back to this one. You know. Let me see. But let me touch on this, through the spirit. So with war, what does it take to have an ICBM missile? We just looked at who has the ICBM missiles. We looked at the different nations. We looked at America. We looked at China. Looked at France. We looked at Russia, right? We looked at these different diverse nations. But what does it take to have an ICBM missile? Now, the one thing created to make ICBM missiles is uranium-235 isotope. Uranium enriched is the process of increasing the concentration of the Ukrainian, right? 235 isotope in natural uranium, which normally contains about 0.7% U-235 to build a nuclear weapon. Uranium must be enriched to about 90%. So who has uranium, and what is uranium? It says it's a process that has to be enriched. So let's dive more into it. How is uranium enriched to weapon grades? Natural uranium is made weapons grade through isotope enrichment, right? So uranium is like a type of metal. And the Lord, said through the spirit, you have these different metals that come up out of the earth. Let's get that in the book of Job. So there's certain places that have these things, but they have to infuse witchcraft to make these things, right? Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 28. Let me get this real fast. Right, in 1. Surely there is a vein for silver and a place for gold where they find it. Iron is taken out of the earth, and brass is molten out of the stone. So there's a place where you can find these different metals that are in the earth, right? Again, they are natural, but to isotope enrich them is now taking it to banks and places and plantations, right, across the world, and these plants where they infuse it with witchcraft. And I want to dive into that. Isotope enrichment. Now, to the average man, we don't know what that means, man. Right? Isotope enrichment of Ukrainian process. Meaning, what does this mean? You just keep digging and you keep digging to try to find out what's going on. Ukrainium can be enriched by separating isotopes of Ukrainium with lasers. So they're in a big laboratory in a plant, and they're taking natural things out of the earth, melting it down, separating things, and using lasers to form molecules. It says molecules can be excited by laser light. And really, when you put this in perspective, it's sorcery, it's witchcraft. But the Lord has created the waster to destroy, man. That's prophecy. How in the hell would you even think of something like this? How could this even be possible? Let me get this quick precept. Right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, and verse number 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals. Your ancient smith is your man that makes these weapons, right? He makes your axe, your bow and arrows, your swords, right? He makes your gauntlets, your different weaponry to go to war in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I've created the waster to destroy. The waster is another word for these missiles, right? No weapon that is formed against me, these shall prosper, right? Every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment shall thou condemn. Meaning nobody's going to take down the elect, but no matter how much wickedness and witchcraft they possess and know. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. And their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord, man. Let's go back to it. Right? So through separating isotopes of Ukrainians with lasers, let's dive a little bit more into that. Right? It's like it's a little bit more wanted on that. This point right here. Can any country enrich Ukrainian? Because again, that's how these things are formed and made. It's also by money, obviously, but it's also by your wise men, your wizards, your witchcraft. It isn't just, that's just tax the hell out of the people, man. We need ICBM missiles. Taxes is going up. Now everybody digging in their poke. Okay, it's the war. We got to do what we got to do. No, a lot of this comes from your witches and your warlocks, right? Your necromancers. Right? When you look at ancient Egypt, you see Egypt for what it was, man. What did they have? Gold. They had a vast army, right? They had all of the emblems and all of the different things that allure the innocent and the wicked. But they also had wizards. Nebuchadnezzar had wizards. Certain men, they always had a high priest on the left-hand side, like the Philistines in 1 Samuel, the sixth chapter. They had wizards to push the agenda and further their help. It says, can any country enrich Ukrainian? The following countries are known to operate enrichment faculties. What is a faculty? A plant. And then they have set places where these scientists and these men, they are making these weapons. They are forming these things, man. These bases under the earth. And it's under the earth that we just went into earlier on in the lesson so that no airstrike can attack them, man. They are underneath the earth making these things. Argentina, Brazil, China, France, Germany, right? And the Germans were the first ones to create the ICBM missile, right? India, Iran, Japan, the Netherlands, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So they have the power to enrich Ukrainian. So they may not possess it as of now, but you see that Iran has faculties. They are working on these things, man. Right? Let me get this real fast. National enrichment faculties. So there's an actual place. Brothers aren't just making this up. Let's just say that they're under the earth because it sounds good. Let's just wing it. It says national enrichment faculties. The National Enrichment Faculty, the NEF, is a nuclear faculty for the enrichment of Ukrainian. Look at this. Ukrainian is the chemical element. It has symbol U for atomic number. So you have your atomic, right? And you have your atoms table, and you look at all of these chemicals. Only a madman and a scientist, I'm going to come back to this, would even think like this, man. Let's go to the mighty book of Ezekiel, chapter 28. This is witchcraft. So you can see why the Lord said, let me get this quick precept in the book of Revelation. By thy sorceries. It isn't just talking about religion all the time, man. Yeah, religion is a high level of sorcery and demons, but it's also talking about the scientists and the wise men. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 18, right? And verse, I'm going to start at 22. And the voice of harpers, right, musicians, and of pipes, and of trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. These are your mirth, your gladness, right, your music. But on a deeper level, it's your sorcerers, those that keep you bouncing to the beat of their agenda. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found anymore in thee. What does that mean, man? They're talking about your man that makes bicycles. I think John was talking about the white man that makes bicycles, that spinning roll, man. Who is your craftsman? Your scientists. All you wizards. You men that craft weapons, machinery. It says, and the sound of a millstone should be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For by thy merchants were the great men of the city. It's like you of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, man. And you've been deceived, thinking that this beast and this place is the greatest nation upon the face of this earth, man. This is Revelation chapter 13. I'm going to get this real fast. I'm going to go back to it in verse number 4. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Talking about the Roman Empire. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war against it? This is the revised Roman Empire all over again. So with their wickedness, right, and their sorcery, they're saying, well, who can stop them? Who could take down America? So when you actually go into it, you have the National Enrichment Faculty. The National Enrichment Faculty, the NEF, is a nuclear faculty of the enrichment, which is a process of extracting and moving with lasers and witchcraft of Ukrainian, right, which is a chemical and element of metal, silver gray metal, associated with Los Alamos National Laboratory. Look at this. This is a place. The plant used as gas configurate technology known as zip tie configurate, man. Now, again, we're not going to get too deep into this, but just know these things exist, man. Know that this high level of sorcery, these plants, these development agencies are in the works. Why is this important? Because it ties hand in hand with war. Now, if I'm an ancient damn African, or I'm an ancient Edomite, or I'm some ancient Iranian, these kings, they come together and they counsel about these matters of war. So understanding war, defense mechanisms, soldiers, and footmen, which are the caterpillars that the scriptures speak about, right? You also have who's able to possess and have the knowledge to create, and who has money to obtain the metals, lasers, and faculties to bring forth these weapons. All of this plays a major part, right? You're spying to even locate these different places to smite them down with drones. So as these devils are preparing to go to war, they aren't just talking, right? But they're preparing. Look at this, man. And what's the clearance to get inside of here, man? Probably make you strip, shake your hair, make sure ain't no chips inside of it. Stick that thing inside of your ear, make sure ain't no hidden chip, right? Make you cough 3 times, make you wear a suit, right? God knows what is in here, man. God knows what they're doing in here, right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of, let me see what I want. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 75. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 75. And I want to start at verse, see what I want. Number 7. It says, but God is the judge. He putteth down one and set up another. And we're living in the days where the Lord is putting down nations. He's making them weaker, right? He's putting them down and destroying them and set up another. The other is Israel. We're the ones that's going to be set up through the Spirit. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth it out right the same. What does it mean it's full of mixture, man? And it's wine and it's red. See, the wine represents the blood and the vengeance, and it's mixed with all type of fury, man. You have many types of wines. You have sweet wines, you have mid wines, you have dry wines, you have Pinot, right? You have Merlot. It's mixed, meaning the fury and the vengeance of the Lord is as if it was mixed with all of these different wines. Because it's a process with stomping a grape, but not just one grape, all grapes, all blood, all mixtures, all nations, all people, man. It says, and he poureth out the same. I mean, he gives you that judgment, but the drags thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. Then you have to deal with the judgments of the living God. But I will declare forever, I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. All the horns, meaning the strength of the wicked also, will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted, man. Lord said he's going to exalt that, man. Let's go to the book of Joel. Get this quick precept in the book of Joel. This is Joel chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse right number 9. Proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So it's already been a proclamation, huh? We're already proclaiming these things. These things have already been proclaimed, right? The Lord has spoken once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. The Lord said that in the book of Obadiah. Right, let me get this quick precept in Obadiah. It says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord concerning Edom, we have heard a rumor from the Lord. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. You can read about that in Isaiah the 13th chapter. That rumor, that proclamation, these things being formed. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 13 and verse number 2. Lift ye up the banner. The ancient banner is what they would proclaim as they came in. Upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles, that everybody could prepare and know what's going on and coming to pass upon the earth. Lord has said that over and over and over, right, to let you know, right, through the Spirit, these ancient nations to prepare and get ready for war. It says, beat your plowshares, right, into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Meaning things that are weak are going to be used for strength. A plowshare, right? Something you will plow the ground with, right? Or a pruning hook will now be turned into a weapon. Something that is weak is now could be used to kill. Just like these weak nations, man. Weak meaning numerous. They're not as numerable as another nation can be. Like, let me get this quick precept. Like the Lord said in let me see. Let me get this real fast in Deuteronomy chapter 7. This is Deuteronomy chapter 7 in verse, right, number 7. It says, the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. So you have few people, which is the weak. The weak are your lower nations with weaker military and or weaker number, right? It says, let them say, I am strong. Let them have the mentality to join forces, join allies, right? Pray to their gods, seek witchcraft, military, right? Go to these different plants and these bases to conjure up these different artilleries. It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down. Oh Lord, man. That's what's going on in the last days, man. These things are kicking off, and it's extremely important and pivotal that brothers keep watch. Let me get second Esdras. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to second Esdras, right? Chapter 15. And I'm going to start at verse number 20. Behold, saith God, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, right? Meaning to what? To do the Lord's will. It's not talking about they're going to start keeping the Passover. And all of the kings of the earth will finally come to their senses, man. To reverence the Lord means to bow down to his will and his prophecies. Meaning they're going to be a part of the Lord's movie as he manipulates and moves the elements for his will, which are from the rising of the sun, meaning in the east, from the south and from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another. This is Bible prophecy, man. Where's this all stemming out of? It's stemming out of the east. And repay the things that they have done to them, right? Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also in recompense in their bosom, saith the Lord God. My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Judith. All right, let's go to it. And I'm going to start at verse number 17, 16 and 17. Woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. And that's all the nations. So, I mean, in the last days, these could be fearful times to man. You know, it's a lot going on in the earth. You know, brothers have newborn babies and have new wives they have taken. new jobs they took on. It just moved, you understand, to a different part of the earth, right? You may not have the money you feel like you can really survive in these days, but understand the US dollar is going to crash. This place is going down. It's the beginning of World War III. You have nothing to look forward to other than salvation. Don't let these spirits in this world hold you back, man. And the Lord said, let me get this quick precept. And being too emotional in the last days is going to kill you. It's going to destroy you. Abraham, he was sent with a charge to slay Isaac, man. There's no account of him crying and sighing and saying, no, Heavenly Father, I will not do it, man. He put his emotions to the backside. Look a lot. His whole family was one as if they mocked. But he looked forward. You got to look forward in the last days, man. It's not time to be looking back. Nobody cares about your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, and the things you used to deal with, or the man you used to be, or anything that you want, man. It's not about you. You're on the edge of your seat right now, man. And if anything distracts you or you look back, you will be destroyed. Right? Let me read that again. Woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance on them in the day of judgment, and putting fire and worms in their flesh, and they shall fill them and weep forever. Check that out, man. So the Lord not dealing with these demons and these spirits. He's dealing with strength, right? And again, the way you could protect yourself in the last days, right? Let me get this quick precept. Psalm chapter 91. This is Psalm chapter 91 and verse number 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So you have to dwell, meaning stay. A dwell is a place where you reside. Not that you visit on a Sabbath day. Not that you visit when it's convenient. See, a lot of people, they want to serve the living God when it's convenient for them, man. It's not about what's convenient for you. You will lose everything, brother. You will be a pilgrim. You won't have anything to carry but the mind and heart and faith of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. If it's not embedded in your mind and your soul and your spirit, you will be forsaken. It says, I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver me from the snare, meaning the trap, right, of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence, right? Who is the fowler? The fowler is Esau, man. The fowler of the air, the fowl of the air. He's the one that watches you from afar, seeking to destroy and slay you. And from the noise of the pestilence, the noisome pestilence, man. The bombs, the destruction, the tear gas. It says, he shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Who is the truth? Yahweh Shah. He's going to protect you and guide you through faith, because faith is your shield, right? When you're actually going into it, right? 1 Corinthians, right? It says, and buckler, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, meaning these bombs, this destruction. It's a beautiful prayer through the spirit, man. There's nothing to fear, even though fear will be upon the earth, man. The Lord said in the book of 2nd Esdras, which is a scary precept, man. Even though, you know, it's true, but it's scary. 2nd Esdras chapter 15. Let me get this quick precept. 2nd Esdras chapter 15 in verse number 4, right? It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. What does this mean, man? If you're unsure whether the Lord will take care of you and protect you, then the Lord is going to give you over to destruction and ruin. And it's a thin line between being fearful, scared, looking around, not knowing what's going on, and being unfaithful, right? It says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. And that's a cut for you brothers that think that, you know, Jacob's trouble will only be in America, man. The Lord said he's bringing plagues upon the world. There's not a place you could go where you won't be tempted and judged for your wickedness, right? The sword, and that's what's going on right now via the 6th seal. It's like it via the 4th seal, right? When you read the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 6 and verse 7. Famine, death, and destruction. Let me get that real quick in Revelation chapter 6. I'm at the 6th chapter. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6. And I'm going to start at verse number 7. And when he had opened, right, the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4 beasts say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, right? And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, right? So the name that sat on his beast, meaning this death angel, over that principality to give to the earth with the angels, was death. Meaning death is going to be heavily precedented in this seal, which you can see at a vast rate. And hell followed with him, right? Meaning what? Dead bodies, the grave. Not actual as if the grave and hell physically follow, but right before death, you have, it's like you right when death happens, you have the grave. So all of the affliction that follows. And power was given unto them over the 4th part, right, of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth. So right after that, you have the 5th seal. And when he had opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain. Why under the altar? Because when you burn and sacrifice an animal, the ashes will go down, right? Let me see if I can pull up a picture. You will have the ashes that will go down right from the brazier. Let's see if I can pull that up. All right, this is Exodus chapter 20, verse 24. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, thy peace offerings, thy sheep, and thine oxen, right? In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee and bless thee, right? So the Lord, is saying upon these burnt offerings, we're going to be a burnt offering. That's going to be our sacrifice. That's wisdom of Solomon, right? The 3rd chapter. Let me get that quick precept, right? It's a whole lot, I wanted to touch on, but that burnt offering, like it says, going into the seals, that's what man is going to be likened it to. Upon the altar, meaning he being persecuted and martyred, and his soul, you understand, will resort back to the 3rd heaven. Let's go back to the book. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and I want to start at verse 6. As gold in a furnace have he tried them, Jacob's trouble, death, persecution, and received them as a burnt offering. So as we catch hell and adversity, right, in the 5th seal, it says, and I saw under the altar the souls of them. That's why it's under the altar. That's where the ashes go, right, into the tray. They be taken to the unclean place, right, of them that are slain for the word of God and for the testimony which he held. Right, let me get one more precept real fast. This is Leviticus chapter 6 and verse 10. And the priest shall put on his lintel garment and his linen breeches, and shall put upon his flesh and take up the ashes, which the fire have consumed with the burnt offering. So you have in the ancient world a physical burnt offering, but us in the last days, we're going to be likened it to that burnt offering, that sacrifice, which is willingly given on the altar, and he shall put them beside the altar. That altar in the spirit is the 3rd heaven. That's the true ultimate altar. Because after we die and be martyred, our spirit, you understand, is going to be a subject unto the Father, and we're going to be under the altar, likened unto that burnt sacrifice and that offering, right? Right. Let me get that real fast in Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 1. And if you get shot, beat, shot in the, head, or Salakia, for the visage and the language, get shot in the head, or, brother get shot in the back, that doesn't necessarily mean you got martyred for the Lord, man. You have to know what martyr actually means. You stepped on a gold mine, you exploded, you got martyred, right? You slipped off a cliff, right? In the day of judgment, you was climbing up some ramp, you slipped and fell, you got martyred, man. This is what martyr is. This is Leviticus 1 in verse number 2. Speaking to the children of Israel and saying to them, if any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even the herd, and of the flock. Check this out. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice, we just read in Wisdom of Solomon, the 3rd chapter, that's what will be. Of the herd, let him offer a male. Check that out. It's the elect, without blemish. Meaning you got to be perfect as you're delivered up, man, or else it won't be accepted. See, that martyr in the blood has to be sweet, like Stephen, man. Stephen wasn't a nigga when he was getting stoned. You got certain men like Antipas. Certain men were martyred in their sincerity, in their truth, right? In their innocency. Look at Abel. These men were honored, man, right? For giving up their lives. It says, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it at his own voluntary will. And that's a cut to you brothers that go to camp, because nobody should have to force you to do this work, man. Nobody should have to force you to want to sacrifice yourself for the living God. Force you to put a brick in. Force you to read and pray and fast and go over these precepts, man. Should be at his own voluntary will. And he wants to do these things. At the door of the tabernacle, the door is Yahushua, right? John, the 10th chapter. Of the tabernacle congregation, sweet Yahushua dwelleth in the ancient world before the Lord. We have to come before the Lord as a male, without blemish, at your own voluntary will, to give your mind, your soul, and your heart into the living God, man. In the last days, man. Right, going back to it, right? Verse 10. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, doest thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwelleth on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren should be killed, as they were should be fulfilled. And I beheld, when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. See, you have many earthquakes, but the great earthquake is when it's all going to come down to an end, man. When these trumpets are going to open up, when the vials are going to pour, when utter destruction is going to be upon the earth, global war. And we're right here, man. We're right segueing into the 5th. As you could tell, there's a lot going on with the community and the nation, man. It's a lot of publicizing going on. It's all in the movies. Right? It's all on social media. It's all by these celebrities. Everything is being shown, and the truth is kicking up to a global rate. You got certain brothers on TV shows, podcasts. I mean, everybody has pretty much heard about the truth. And elect is just about silk, the 144,000. Once that's silk, the door is going to close. Persecutions are going to start to happen, and bombs are going to be on the earth, right? Throughout the 4 corners. It says, and the sun, right, became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, man. And that's for all nations, man. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, right? When she is shaken of a mighty wind. So that mighty wind is destruction. Those figs and that fruit have reached perfection, right, to fall upon the earth for destruction to happen. And the heaven departed as a scroll, right? Meaning the firmament was engulfed, right? When it is rolled together, and every mountain, meaning nation, and isle were moved out of their places. What does this mean? Every mountain was moved out of their place. That's talking about, let's get a precept. Let's go to Sirach chapter 42 and 18. It says, he seeketh out deep things of the heart, talking about the Most High, and considereth their crafty devices. For the Lord knoweth all that may be known, and he is beholding the signs of the world, and he's beholding the prophecies. He declareth the things that are past and for to come, and revealeth the steps of hidden things, prophecies. No thought escapeth him, neither any word is hid from him. Right? Check this out. he have garnished the excellent works of his wisdom, and he is from everlasting to everlasting. Unto him may nothing be added, neither can be diminished, and he have no need of any counselor, man. So he has no need of any help, any counselor, anybody to tell the Lord, what needs to be done, what shouldn't be done. The Lord is foreseeing and overthrowing this whole earth, man, right through his wisdom and his excellency. So when everything is moved, the Lord is going to discover that the deep things, right? All the wickedness of these nations and everything that's sown is going to be uprooted and overthrown. That's what that's saying, right? Let me get maybe two more and I'm gonna close out. Get this quick precept. Let's go to Jude. It's the mighty book of Jude, right? Let me start at verse. Let's see what I want. Verse number 13. It says, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Right? It's really going into Israel. They've uprooted themselves, right? By following their own lusts and desires and giving to their own sensual ways. That have uprooted themselves like wandering stars. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to continue all that are ungodly among them and all the ungodly deeds. So it's going to convince all of the ungodlies, right, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches, which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. That's your sword, your proud tongue, your wicked speeches. That's why you got to come out of America, man. The Lord is coming to condemn the wicked tongue and the crafty devices of Satan, the so-called white man, right? Let me get this quick precept in Psalm chapter 120. The Lord said, I have long time dwelling with him. We have long time been in Babylon, man. The Lord said, how happeneth Israel, but thou art waxing old in a strange land. This is Psalms 120 in verse number 2. It says, deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips, from the deceitful tongue. Right? What shall be given unto thee, or what shall be done unto thee, thou false tongue? Sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of Jupiter. It says, woe is me, I sojourn in Meshach, which I dwell in the tents of Kedar. It's the point. My soul have long dwelt with him that hateth peace, man. Your soul has long dwelt with this nation, man. Lord said in Song of Solomon, right, come out of her, man. Paraphrasing extremely greatly. Let me see thy countenance. In Song of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. Come from beneath the clefts of the rocks. This is my soul have long dwelt with him that hateth peace. Who hates peace? The so-called white man. I am for peace. All you want to do, man, is relax. Enjoy one another's company. Have a cookout, man. Sip some wine. Play some cards. Play some sports. Relax. Talk about the scriptures. Crack jokes, man. All you want is peace. But when I speak, they are for war. Understand, these nations were created. Their thought process, their tongue, their mentality, their spirit, their soul, everything in them is embedded for war and hatred. So never want peace in this society, man. Always desire to depart and for uncomfortable times to arise, because that's when your salvation draweth nigh. Right, let me get this closing precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Revelation chapter 3. This is Revelation chapter 3 in verse number 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So continue to keep watch, continue to be vigilant. Most High willing, man, brothers, the Most High is going to put the spirit on brothers to continue with these breakdowns, continue with World War III news, for brothers to continue to be vigilant, to oversee the affairs of Babylon and what's going on, what foreign relations, politics, religion, right, and or World War III. Most High willing, this was edifying. want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Shalom.